So let's walk through real quick here how we actually load applications and make those services available to users. And I know some of you are saying, my phone's going off here, sorry about that. Some of you are saying, well, duh, this is a pretty simple process, right? We just, get the application, we load it onto the server, and away we go, right? And sure enough, that is a true statement. We do load the application on the server, but there's lots of things in between that have to go on in order to make that application accessible and available on the network. And one of them happens to be the server, so we have to load it on there. And then, of course, any associated storage that may be there, that has to happen. But in order, remember, we're trying to get out here to this path over here, we have to do a couple other things too. So we'll just assume that we're inside our own firewall, so we won't talk about firewalls in this video, but we will talk about these other components. So we're going to have to talk a little bit about the switch itself and the router. All of these, remember, need to be configured so that when we take off and we want to get application A, we want to actually get that application down on our desktop so that we can use it. Go ahead and color that in so you know it's the application over there. So so you can use it. We're going to actually travel. Now, we may not travel through the router, but let's just, for this conversation, say that we do. We go through the switch, then we go down, and we actually get the application from the server and the storage, and then the transfer goes back through and comes back into the app, right? And so on and so forth, and the loop just becomes whatever it needs to be in order to get that information. And so we have to understand on here we have certain components, right? We have perhaps some tables that need to be adjusted, some shaping that may need to go on based on policy. We also may have security access layers that may need to be adjusted, or maybe certain protocols need to be enabled or disabled. Whatever those things are, all of this work occurs, this work here occurs on the physical piece of hardware or the switch itself. So we actually go in and we adjust that. So how can we save on that? Using this exact model, we're going to still be a user down here, and the ultimate goal is for us to get application A within our environment, right? We want to make sure that we can actually use the application. Well, there's no way to get around all of the components within the environment. We are still going to have a server in the environment. We're still going to have switches in the environment, and we're still going to have a router in the environment. There's no way to get around that. But what we can do is we can take these components here inside here, which is all of this stuff here, right? And we can forward that down into SDN, right? Software defined networking. And basically, we have an SDN controller that will then control from the hardware stack the tables and adjustments that need to be made, from the router the table and the adjustments that need to be made, and SDN will control and manage that. So when you get application A over here and you want to install, looks more like a house now than a box, but when you want to install application A here on this server, great, no problem. When you install it, then you will then look in to your SDN infrastructure, configure it. It may already be done in policy, and then access will be gained basically through the SDN infrastructure to the application, back through the SDN. Now, I say through SDN, it's really still going through these, still going through these switches and this router, but it is being managed right here out of SDN. So what does this mean to you from a business perspective? This could be days to configure. And in some environments, unfortunately, it is days. This here, based on policy, could be minutes. And that is why SDN, or software defined X, which right now we're talking about software defined networking, is going to change the way we do computing in the future.